This is Chris once again with Laurel City Historical Fencing, and this is a product review I've been meaning to do for quite a while, and I'm sorry I just kind of keep forgetting about it and not really paying attention to the time. But specifically tonight we're going to look at the Dagger Sheathes made by Thistle Dew Leather. I will say that Thistle Dew Leather is owned and operated by my student and friend Robin Morris, just so you know, biases are out there and everything, but I will say that, you know, she is my friend, but she also does make really nice things with leather working, not just sheaths, but also things like pouches and belts and a lot of different leather accessories. During the COVID pandemic, she made many of us ear savers, just little bands of leather to put masks on so it's not chafing on your ears. And you know, it was a little simple project, but she chose to add in some nice detail work and things like that just to make it look a little pretty. But anyway, so Robin does some really amazing leather work. And then while we were training a few times, she's seen us doing, like, some of the more experienced students would be sparring, and they'd have, you know, long sword, messer, sword and buckler, whatever they're doing. And a lot of times people would take a, you know, one of the Cold Steel Rondels and put it on their belt, kind of tuck it in as best they could, and you know, as you're fighting, as you're wrestling, it starts to move on you, it falls out, whatever, and now all of a sudden you don't know where it is, you're trying to draw it quickly. So she thought of the easy solution: well, I'll try making out some sheaths. So a couple years ago she made this one. This is one of her basically Gen 1s. As you can see, it's a little worn out now, but I will say I have been using this sheath regularly in class, in drills, in sparring for, God, it must be about 2 years now, and it still works. It's a little worse for wear. This one, I will say, she did a painting technique rather than a dyeing technique, because this was essentially one of her, like, alpha prototypes. But as you can see, I'll put my dagger in here. It holds on to that even now. After a few years with the thinner gauge leather, if we are going seriously into wrestling, it does come loose every once in a great while. But I think, again, in all that time, it's maybe come off, the dagger itself has come out of my sheath maybe twice when it wasn't intentional. A lot of times when it is intentional, it works just fine. So just the shaping of it gives you a nice solid grip here, but also easy to draw. She does a few different mounting points. Usually she does this 2-point structure. In this case, for me, she had done one with some small buckles, and I know she can do a lot of custom orders with different things like this, but other times she does more of like a pin system, which you'll see in a minute. But yeah, this was just one of her prototypes. This is, like I said, I think there was maybe 1 or 2 she made before this that were just unfinished. I was just working on the pattern, but this was the first one that we put into, you know, beta testing at the school. Most of her common commissions now look more like this. This is kind of the standardized one. This one she had been working on a few different kind of patterns and some, you know, different ways to kind of embellish it with a little bit of this color here and these rivets just to give it a little design. But as you can see, again, if I really even try to get this out of here, oh, there we go, finally. After all that, it finally started to come loose. So these work really nicely to hold your dagger in there. And I really think, because there's a lot of, I mean, it's fun, obviously, but it adds a lot, I believe, to sparring, adding in weapons as well as, you know, not just your primary weapon, but adding in secondary weapon makes the game a lot of fun, because, you know, you get in close, maybe somebody successfully pulls a disarm on you, or they just end up too close in range to really make effective, you know, moves with a long sword or a messer or whatever. So you draw your dagger. So this just makes kind of sparring a little bit more fun. So this is kind of a more typical design. She's done a lot of custom work for different schools, and I'll show you some images of those just taken off of her Facebook page, Thistle Dew Leather. but she's done custom ones for people. She's done, you know, specifically for individuals, some for schools, with different logos and things on them. And I have to say that I've been really impressed with the kind of work that she's done. And kind of to wrap up this, I wanted to show. So here is a more custom one that she did. This is a commission that I actually gave her for a dear friend of mine, and I won't say who because I obviously haven't sent it to them yet because I'm holding it. But she used this higher gauge leather, so it ends up being nice and thick. And I'm not even sure what this is, you know, some sort of fancy leather in here that's almost got this iridescent color to it that just, it really stands out. And then I did a little bit of detail work here with some paint on the rondel itself, just to give it a little more life. But yeah, Robin not only makes a good, you know, the sheaths themselves are a good design, but she also can do some really amazing work. If you want something to be a little more historical, if you want something to be a little more fanciful, she can really work with her client and come up with some really cool design. Oh, and I mentioned that there were different buckle options and things like that, and this is what she used for this, where it's a very simple, basically like peg system in there, so you can always shorten or lengthen this by just adding in more holes as needed and things. But yeah, the 2 points make a nice way for you to suspend this on a belt or however you're doing it on your kit. So like I said, I will admit that I can be slightly biased because, again, I've known Robin for a few years now, and she's a great individual. She's a very excellent student too, but she makes really fun toys for us to all play with, and it's really been fun because as she was working on different versions of these sheaths, she would basically just kind of give them to people in class and say, hey, tell me if this works or not. And you know, we kind of helped her work through and come up with some cool designs. So if you're interested, I can send you the link here. You can find her on Etsy under Thistle Dew Leather. She's also on Facebook. You can reach out to her that way. And other than that, don't forget rule number 1, don't get stabbed. Have a good day, everyone.